So hello everyone, my name is Joshua, the founder and director of El Terreno Cultural Exchange Center here in the Ecuadorian Andes. Great to have all of you with us today here on this final presentation of the season for gender equality and public health. It's been a fascinating 3 months learning about a very nuanced, sensitive subject that has the potential to do a lot of impact and make a lot of difference in low-income rural communities. I'm not going to give much more away than that because I know that these guys have done a really in-depth research project and they've got a lot to share. So I will pass over to the project coordinator, Christian, to take it from there.
Thank you so much, Joshua, and hello everyone. Welcome to this final presentation. My name is Cristian Toscano. I am from Salcedo, Ecuador, and I was the coordinator for this project. I'm really grateful to you guys. It was a really good experience working with you. Also, Cody, Eva, Eilidh's not here, but it was a good experience working with communities in this kind of project. Yeah. So right now, I will leave the group to continue with your presentation. And also after that, we will have some questions or comments, a time for questions or comments. So don't hesitate to also to write your question in the chat if you prefer. Right now, you can start with the presentation, guys. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, it's okay.
Now we go. Okay. We're super happy that all of you made it to join us today for our final presentation of this project. I'm just going to start sharing my screen so that you can see the presentation we prepared to talk you through what we did over the past months. 1 second. Okay. Can you see it? It works, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're Eilidh and Jana, and this is a picture of us and all the people, or nearly all the people that were involved in the project, that we developed in the realm of gender and maternal and reproductive health, and then we kind of specified the topic of Indigenous midwifery and how it interacts with different stakeholders here in the region.
My name's Eilidh. I come from Scotland and I'm here to do an internship on gender issues.
Yeah. I'm Jana. I'm originally from Germany. I hold a bachelor's degree in European political science and history, and I'm currently completing my master's degree in gender studies at Utrecht University. So this internship is a part of this master's degree for me, and I had the chance to study abroad for a semester in Mexico at the Tecnológico de Monterrey, where I developed a keen interest in Indigenous feminist perspectives. And here on the screen, you can also see the other people that were part of this group. So we have Hallie, Eva, who's also in the meeting, and Cody, who's here as well today, that finished their internships a bit before us. But they were an initial part, essential part of the project from the start, to a bit further than I carried on over the past weeks. So this much just to introduce the team.
So a brief rundown of what we're going to be talking through in our meeting today. First of all, we're going to give a bit of background, a bit of local context. We've been working mainly with the community who is quite nearby the village called San Juan de Jujundongo. So we're going to provide some context on what the situation is here. We're going to talk about our problem statement, which is what we developed to kind of focus the whole project around and work on. Some key challenges and our approaches to them, and then some 3 main prototypes of kind of sub-projects that we've been working on over the past weeks. A collaboration network between different groups interested in maternal health, including people like Indigenous midwives and people from public health bodies, such as the local hospital. Running hospital visits from from the community with community members into the nearby hospital in the town of Guaranda, and a documentary that Jana's mainly been working on. And then we'll finish off with our expected impact, or what we hope to gain from the project here, and closing and reflection, some acknowledgements, and then we'll turn it over to questions if there are any.
Yeah. So now that we know the agenda, we're just gonna jump right into the local socioeconomic context. So in talking about this, we need to differentiate between the region that we're working in, the state, which is the state of Bolívar. Then we have the canton and city of Guaranda, which is the capital of the region of Bolívar. And then we have the community of San Juan, which is a smaller rural community that is part of the canton of Guaranda, which is part of the region of Bolívar. So first we're going to talk about the region, or province in general. Bolívar counts with 199,000 inhabitants, a number from 2022, and the capital being Guaranda. The majority of the population of the province is living in rural areas, and there's a strong indigenous presence. The economic situation of the region is kind of defined by the fact that the region is one of the least economically developed provinces in the whole country of Ecuador. And there's high levels of poverty all over the region, especially in the rural areas. The economy here is based on subsistence agriculture. So most people living here are really completely depending on the income they gain from their work in agriculture. And also the situation around maternal health is influenced by that. There's a really high maternal mortality in this region. We have a study that compares numbers from 2019 to numbers from 2021. In 2019, there were 233.6 maternal deaths that were counted and noted. And the interesting aspect here is that the maternal mortality rate since has been rising. So in 2021, there has already been a maternal mortality of 398.4 maternal deaths. So this is an important factor to take into account, and that really highlights the importance of the research we've been doing, I think. Then there's a really high rate of adolescent pregnancy, which is remaining at a high level. Right now it's at 15%. And there's other risk factors that endanger the situation around maternal health, which are poverty, then also low education levels, and just the rurality of the region, which comes with different aspects such as the limited access to healthcare and limited access to institutions, again, also education. So this is really a factor that kind of goes through all different areas of life and influences them. Then some more specificities on the community of San Juan, where we have been working. San Juan, we can find it right next to Atandawa, where the foundation is based. It's a community that consists of around 1,234, funny number, inhabitants, out of which 93% identify as indigenous. They come from the Quichua and the Guaranca people. And the main health issues that are found in the community are that 46% of the children are chronically malnutritioned. 19 to 95% of the people of the community have dental caries. 93% consume non-potable water, even though there have been initiatives to ameliorate that situation. The number remains at 93%, which is very shocking, and 65% lack adequate sanitation.
So we've been working, as I say, with a large variety of groups interested in maternal health. And one of our primary goals for the project is to get a kind of balanced view of all different kinds of perspectives, all different kinds of backgrounds. For example, we've had Indigenous Quichua midwives who live in San Juan de Jurundongo, and we've had staff from the local healthcare centre of San Juan, and we've had staff from the labour and delivery ward of the nearest hospital, which is in the town of Guaranda. And a few weeks in, we had a focus group with all of our primary stakeholders, which was centered around the main question, which is our problem statement, which, as you can see, is how we can support all pregnant women in the community of San Juan de Jujendongo to receive adequate information, have decent access to healthcare services, and have the decision-making power to access a birth that is medically safe, emotionally respectful, and culturally appropriate. These are some of the key challenges that we've identified while we've been working through our project over the past 12 weeks. One of the main ones is the cultural barrier between Western or modern medicine and the traditional practices that are quite often preferred in the region, which causes quite a lot of tension, and some of that can lead to situations that pose as a danger. For example, a stigma or fear around going to the hospital when women need to. If there is a complication during labour that cannot be treated at home, and there's resistance to going to hospital, it could put her in a lot of danger and her baby as well. Related to this, there's a general lack of trust and sometimes even outright hostility towards healthcare institutions and public health bodies that is related to multi-generational traumatic experiences. In general, there's just limited access to modern healthcare. People live in rural communities, so actually getting into the hospital in Guaranda can be difficult. It can take a long time. It can be complicated to arrange. Economic, a lot of the people in this area live in quite severe poverty, and a private clinic isn't an option. Even public hospitals, which in theory should be state funded, are often so underfunded that people need to buy basic medications such as anesthesia from pharmacies. And there's linguistic element as well. As we say, a lot of people around here are Indigenous and speak Quechua as a primary language, but a lot of the official healthcare bodies are in Spanish, which can pose difficulties for a lot of people. And in general, community-wise and also family marriage-wise, there's a lot of inequality in decision-making. As we've been interviewing women from the community, and pregnant women particularly, about the topic of their birth and labour, a lot of the things that come up is that they would need to ask their husband before they went to the hospital, or they would need to wait until every member of the family had decided that it was okay for them to go to hospital. And of course, if a husband puts his foot down, or the family or the community disagrees and she doesn't go to hospital, that can pose a huge risk to her life. So women are very empowered.
Yeah, so through all these interviews that we've done, as Eilidh said, in the end it was over 30 interviews that we have carried out. We kept coming back to discussing the approach that we want to choose for our work on this topic. And we have set some kind of like baselines that we believe are important in this work, which is first that we wanted our approach to be participatory and community-based, so that we can really make sure to take into account the opinions of the community, because something we've come to talk about and realize quite often is how we have a lot of like pre-assumptions about how things should be, but we believe that it's essentially important to respect cultural traditions as well, even though we come from a very different background. And so we wanted to make sure that as well the problem statement that we developed, but also the different prototype solutions that we came up with were initiated and coming from community members, and also regarded feasible by the community members. So that's why we, for example, decided to do the focus group meeting, and why we kept asking for the reapproval from different members of the community for our ideas. Then we wanted to encourage an intercultural dialogue, because we can really see that there's like this cultural kind of divide between the institutions of the public health system and the community members, especially the parteras, which are the indigenous midwives that have a really high standing in the communities. So we think that it's really important to create a dialogue and not just kind of one side telling the other what to do because they have a higher standing with the state. So we wanted to make sure that even though the midwives and their traditions are not recognized as an actual profession by the state, they are treated as professionals. And then we, in all of that, wanted to include multiple stakeholders, out of which we had traditional midwives, as well as medical staff, as well as just general members of the communities, their leaders and representatives, and public institutions such as the Ministry of Health.
So the first pillar of our approach, as it were, is to really focus on creating a strong collaboration network between all of the different interested parties that Jana's talked about. Traditional midwives, of which there are a few who practice in San Juan de Jujendongo at the minute, and staff from the nearby hospital in Guaranda, Alfredo Nogoa, Montenegro, which has an intercultural birthing unit in its labour wing. And what that means is they have a room where it's adapted to birthing styles that women might feel more comfortable in. For example, vertical birthing is quite traditional in Quechua communities. So they've got facilities for that as well as just the standard kind of hospital bed that you might associate with labour. So we've been working with part of that as well, and just generally different representatives of the public health system. As we say, we've got the local healthcare centre in San Juan and some doctors from there who we've been working with. One of the main objectives is to create spaces for knowledge exchange. A lot of these people go about the topic of labour and birth slightly differently, but in our opinion, all of their knowledge and expertise and all of their views and perspectives on it are very, very valuable, and we want to create an open, trustful dialogue instead of having them against each other or having it be a divide between traditional and modern medicine. We really wanted to create the network, have mutual trust and improved comprehensive care. So something that led off from this is the organisation of hospital visits for people in the community. Pregnant women is an important one, as they are obviously about to give birth, so we felt that it would be valuable for them to be able to kind of go into the hospital and have a look around the multicultural birthing room. And even if many women from this community, almost everybody, would rather give birth at home with a traditional partera, an Indigenous midwife. So it's fine if they still want to do that, but we thought it would be important to give them the information, to give them the access and the opportunity to see the hospital in case they ever needed to go. Students, which was very recent actually, we conducted a visit yesterday with a school group of teenagers. They were shown around the multicultural birthing room in the hospital by one of the hospital staff. And yeah, the activities that we've been doing involves direct interaction with healthcare staff to hopefully kind of build the trust and get used to the idea of the setting of a hospital, or collaboration with people from public health bodies. And we thought it was really important as well to highlight the importance of participation of community midwives and community members in general into the visits. And yes, the main objective that we thought would be to kind of reduce the fear and stigma perhaps around going to the hospital, because due to the fact that a lot of women prefer to give birth at home, often when people need to go to the hospital, it's a horror story. And then young women in the community might hear about it and be terrified of the idea of going to hospital. And it just all builds into this kind of culture of distrust and fear, which we're aiming to reduce within the community. And to just increase the knowledge about the hospital, have them actually go in, look around, see what it's about, and get a little bit more familiar with the public health system. So
yeah, so the last of our 3 prototypes is a documentary that I kind of focused my work on over the last weeks of this project. It was kind of born from the initiative that we saw from the Ministry of Health, as well as the hospital direction of the hospital in Guaranda, and the Centro de Salud, so the local health center in the community, during a meeting in which we presented our research and our belief problem statement to these stakeholders. They told us that they would think it would be a great idea to kind of produce educational videos to then screen at the waiting rooms of the local health center and the hospital. This unfortunately then kind of had to end because we didn't end up getting the approval from the ministry, but because I had already carried out some interviews and kind of written down what I would like to portray in the videos, I thought that I could still use this material because I think it's really valuable insights firsthand into the situation here in the region. So then I decided to make it be a documentary instead. So with that I am working still for another week now on the audiovisual production on just the overall topic of maternal health in the region. For this, I spoke to medical staff, I spoke to midwives, I spoke to mothers. I had a really insightful dialogue that I could accompany between a mother that gave birth at home and another mother that gave birth at the hospital. I met them both at the local nursery where they both work. And then could just kind of follow their exchange about the differences and also advantages and disadvantages of their individual birthing experiences. So that was super, super interesting. I spoke to a pregnant woman just yesterday. That was also a really insightful interview, hearing from her how kind of her decision-making process is working, and also seeing that there's, in this case, also exceptions from these very clearly defined roles of the man of the family deciding about where the woman gives birth. In this case, she had a very, she made her own decisions, and that was also really interesting to talk about, because then we could also exchange about her friends that were maybe in different situations. So that was really, really insightful. I could speak to community representatives, to Piedad, for example, who accompanied us in most of the visits we did in most of our initiatives, and also to a legal expert. She's a constitutional lawyer that works here in Guaranda and that considers herself a women's rights activist. She works with the foundation, the Fundación Phoenix, that work on kind of educational initiatives for the children of the rural communities. So that was also a really nice interview partner, just to mention some of them. And I would say the key locations of this whole documentary will be first the health center of the town of Simiatruk. Simiatruk is another rural community here in the region, and they also have a health center. Usually the size that this town or community has, they would get a kind of lower level health center financed by the state, but because the maternal mortality in that region is so high, they also received the funding to create a birthing center inside of this health center. And the staff of this birthing center is now working to be certified with the ESAMIN norm, which is a norm that wants to, that is awarded with the certification to healthcare institutions that manage to respect the traditions to a high extent, and that offer a space where women can be in a medically safe environment, and at the same time, in this case, for example, give birth respecting all their indigenous traditions. So that was a really interesting visit that we did together with the stakeholders, and I got to film a lot there. I got to speak to the director of the health center. So this is one of the key locations, and then of course the Hospital Alfredo Novoa Montenegro in Guaranda, where we did the hospital visits and where we in general got a lot of contacts and information about the whole topic. And the objective I kind of set for this documentary is to make the different experiences that people have in this region concerning maternal health visible, especially because they're so diverse and they're so complex. So I'm aiming to, try to represent all of them, or well, the ones I could speak to. I'm sure there's way more. And yeah, as I said, there's a lot of different experiences, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different also beliefs that are involved in this whole topic here, that you could probably never display all of them, but I want to show how diverse these experiences are, and also foster a dialogue about it, because I think it's really impressive how there's work happening on maintaining the traditions and securing them, but at the same time making the situation around maternal health better, and work against maternal deaths.
So this is from all of the things that we've been talking about and that we've been working on. This is what we hope to get out of it. A greater amount of trust and collaboration and mutual respect between the community and the healthcare system, including the local healthcare centre, but also perhaps the hospital down in the nearby town of Guaranda too. Increased access to clear information, which hopefully will come from Jana's video, which has also been a key factor in lack of access to a safe and respectful birth. And misinformation as well has been prevalent, in that women think that the hospital is more of a malicious and more of a scary presence than maybe it is in real life. Greater empowerment in decision making. Obviously, if a woman is in labour, she should be able to decide where she gives birth and how she gives birth. So that's one of the main guiding principles that we have been working on throughout. The integration of cultural practices into healthcare. Of course, there's the multicultural birthing room in the hospital in Guaranda, but we also want there to be just an overarching, constant consideration for the Indigenous practices that many of these women from these highly Indigenous communities will feel more comfortable with, and not forcing them into giving birth in a way that isn't for them. And basically the main overarching one, I suppose, is contributing to the elimination of all maternal and neonatal deaths in the region.
Yeah, here we added some pictures of the visits we did, the experiences we made. On the top left, you can see, well, I think one of my personal favorite memories from this time. Last week, Thursday, we were invited by the Health Center of San Juan to participate in the Paucarraimi ceremony. It's an indigenous ceremony and tradition that is carried out 4 times a year, so at every start of every season. And it started with, them explaining to us how we can help in the preparation of this, I would call it an artwork, honestly, that you can see on the picture. So it's the Cruz Andina, the Andean cross, that is put on the ground with flower leaves. Is that what you say? Yeah. And a lot of fruit. And then you represent the different elements. So there's tables and plates in every corner, not a table, a plate. One is empty, so that represents the air. Another one has water. Another one has fire, like a little mini fire on the table, on the plate. And then another one has earth on it. And then we also, shaped a moon, a spiral, a sun, and a star out of beans and lentils. That's another traditional aspect of this. And then, the ceremony is held to welcome the new season. And in this case, it was also held to talk about a specific topic, because it was organized by the health center. They talked about something health related, and that was actually especially related to our project. So we talked about maternal health, and it was a moment of exchange with the whole community. There was community representatives, the community leader, the ex-community leader, the staff of the health center, and just people from the community, as well as midwives. So that was really the place to be for us in that moment, I would say. Then on the top right, we can see the ladies and me during our second hospital visit. So that was the first time we really organized a visit with midwives and community representatives, so we can see part of the hospital staff as well as community representatives in the surgical section of the hospital. At the bottom left, we see the interview that I just talked about with the two mothers, one of them giving birth at home, one of them at the hospital. So that's me and Robin, who joined this project about 2 weeks ago, I would say. So that was after our interview, the mothers, their children, and us. Then in the center, in the bottom row, we can again see a group picture from that Paukaraimi ceremony that we were invited to join, health center staff as well as interns. And then on the bottom right, we see Piedad, Eilidh, and me after the visit to the intercultural birthing room. I will. In Simiatuk, Piedad is a community representative. She comes from a family of parteras, so midwives. And she's really interested in learning about the tradition, which is really good to see because there's not a lot of women that are interested in this. The youngest midwife in the community is 65, 63, 63 years old, which is pretty old to be the youngest. Everybody's always happy to see her interest in this. So she accompanied us to the health center in Simiatuk, and then after we took this picture at a plaza in the center. And just to close this presentation and kind of leave you with the reflections that we came up with, we noted some key aspects that we think should not be forgotten also when we finish our internship and kind of leave the project in the hands of the people that are coming next. We're currently still developing a strategy to ensure the long-term sustainability of the project, even after we leave, and Robin is a key actor in this. So he will stay until August, and we've introduced him to basically everything that we did over the past months, which was a lot to hear, I think, for him as well. But we're really glad that he's here and that he can carry on the project and that he could already get some insights. So that's what we're still working on now on our last 2 days here. But the key takeaways that we want to leave you with is that we understood that maternal health, not only in this region but overall, requires an intercultural approach, that there's an essential importance of listening to multiple voices and doing that repeatedly, not just once, because I think we saw that the more we met people and also the more we met them again, we got more insights, and that they were also sometimes different to something we heard before. So to really try to not just believe what we hear at first and maybe the information that is the easiest to access, but try to dig deeper. And that's our key takeaways, I would say. And then now we're open to your questions after some last words of just thanking especially also Joshua and Christian for their support in this project. We're sincerely thankful and grateful for everyone, not just them who participated and who shared their time, knowledge and experiences with us. Without them, this project wouldn't have been possible. And we especially appreciate the guidance and support of Christian and Joshua in this. Thank you. Yeah, that was Kichwa. Lupajani means thank you. Close the presentation.
Thank you so much, Eilidh. Thank you so much. Hola. It's okay. So thank you so much, Eilidh and Jana, for this presentation. Just I want to mention, we are really proud about your work you have done since you came here in Ecuador. You managed to listen different voices from the community health center, the midwife. You were collecting information, but also giving solutions to the community. And I think we are community and all the stakeholders are really grateful for that. And also the team from Eternity was a really pleasure working with you. And also I'm really impressed because you managed to work with this sensitive and complex topic. And I think it's one of the most difficult projects we have here at El Terreno because it's really sensitive. And as an Ecuadorian, I can say it's a big problem here in communities in Ecuador. And I'm really happy that you were interested in working on this topic and really grateful for that. We are really grateful for that. And also, I think I want to thank Cody, Eva, Holly. Also, we were at the beginning of the project. Thank you so much, guys, because you helped a lot in order to identify the main problem. So it was a really pleasure working with you also. And thank you so much for joining us today. And maybe do you have any questions or comments about the presentation? Yes, we have a question from Fiona. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. That was absolutely fascinating. I really, really enjoyed that. That was really interesting. Sounds like you've done some amazing work. So I'm interested in how you went about building relationships with women in Indigenous communities. So you talk about how obviously there's this mistrust between the Indigenous communities and the big healthcare providers. I wonder how you experience that as kind of outsiders coming in who don't have a knowledge of the community or knowledge of language, whether that was challenging. And you mentioned as well that women don't always have the ability to make decisions for themselves because they have to ask maybe their husbands and their families and so forth. Was that also a factor in how you were able to interact with them? Was that something that was inhibiting them from engaging with you?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question, Fiona. Jana and Eilidh.
Yes. Yeah, I think. Do you want to start? Should I? I don't mind. You don't mind? Okay. So I think as outsiders coming in and like really I personally have never been to a rural Ecuadorian indigenous community before. Never had active contacts. So I think hearing these stories from people like firsthand was for all of us first kind of like a shock because I was personally super impressed by the fact that people, even though they had very traumatic experiences and even though they have this distrust against the state and the system, they still invited us to their houses and they still welcomed us in their living room with their children and told us all about that. And that's not something that I didn't expect because, I mean, coming from Germany, it takes a lot to already invite someone to your living room and then telling them about a very deep trauma that you've lived. I think it takes a lot to do that, and I was really surprised when people gave us this confidence or trust, to tell us. I think that's something that really like kind of stuck with me the most. And then also about the language aspect, I'm sure Eilidh can say more about this. Also how it is if you're not fluent. Maybe you want to go on about
I mean, for me personally, my Spanish is not the best. There were people throughout who were fluent in Spanish, so often when we went for an interview, we'd bring one of you along and make you translate. Often, most people in the community speak Spanish. I think there are a few people who only speak Quechua. I think when it comes to the mistrust against official health bodies, I did see that come up on occasion. Like, for example, when we were doing our visit to Semiatig, we were wanting pregnant women and mothers from the community to come with, and we were waiting on confirmation because they had to ask their husband whether or not they could go to Semiatig, and then some of them ended up not being able to go purely because their husband said not to. So it did come up, and it was always a little bit of a shock every time something like that happened.
Yeah, I think that's in general an experience about having to ask male family members that appears shocking, because first you meet someone and they seem very open, and then you ask if you might get the chance to speak to them again, and then it's like, oh, but then we would have to ask the husband and then maybe also the mother. Yeah. But I think overall, like, it's just really impressive to me how people are willing to speak about such personal and intimate experiences, and also just like feelings. Also to us, even though we don't perfectly speak their language, and even though there's moments where we have miscommunications or just don't know how to express ourselves, it still worked somehow, and that's really like one of the things that impressed me the most.
Thank you. That's really interesting.
Thank you so much, Eilidh and Jana, for sharing. And maybe do you have another questions to the group or comment?
I'd really like to hear from some of the people who left. Hallie, Cody, Eva, it'd be nice to hear their voices as well.
Yeah, of course. Maybe Cody, Eva, or Nali, you want to share a little bit your experience when you were here? We'll start with Cody.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. It was definitely a very different experience for anything that I've ever done before. Coming from like an anthropology and political science background, I really wanted to get an understanding of what the problem was within the community, if there was a problem in the first place. And then just like getting to know what we could do in collaboration with the community, instead of coming with like a white savior complex trying to solve their problems for them. We kind of wanted to do it like hands-on with them as well. And I think that was very crucial, like right from the beginning. When we first started, Jana unfortunately wasn't with us. It was just Eilidh, Eva, Hallie, and me. So we really wanted to get an understanding of what the problem was. We did a lot of interviews, like a lot of interviews, a lot of just visits in general, a lot of research, and it was a very insightful and also just very humbling experience, at least for me. Just getting to understand the different experiences in the communities and the different just like ideas and that the people in San Juan have, and how like different they it is from ours, I guess, just being foreigners, but at the same time, just how rich in content that was, and how rich in knowledge, and how rich in culture it was, just to get to know these different approaches. So yeah, it was the definitely very insightful experience. I'm very grateful for San Juan, for the people that got in touch with us, and also for Christian, Joshua, and the rest of the people involved in the project. I think it was a very cohesive group, a very understanding group, and I think we were all very determined to kind of see this move forward, not just on the short term, but on the long term as well. So yeah, that's for me. Appreciative of everything, and I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Cody, for sharing your experience. Hallie?
I go. Yay, good job, guys. It was really nice to see all of it. My class and then my laptop died, so I apologize. But I've been like communicating with Eilidh a little bit, so she's kind of keeping me like a little bit up to date on, where the project's going, and it's just really interesting to have been there in the beginning and then see like the direction that it took. I think in the beginning we were looking for more of like a tangible solution, like this is what we're gonna do, and there was like some like pushback, like that didn't seem totally feasible. And I think what you guys decided to do, you work with the like the unknown, I guess. Like there's a lot of like uncertainties and like some things work, some things don't work, and you just found a way to roll with that. So I think that's really neat, and I hope you're happy with like what you decided to do. I hope you enjoy your last week and last day. I'm literally about to book a flight, but nice job, guys. It was nice to see you.
Thank you so much, Honey. We appreciate all your comments. Thank you so much.
Was I supposed to
And
tell my experience? Or was that fine? Oh, my experience.
yeah.
Oh, if you want, yeah, go,
Yeah.
please.
Oh, okay. Cody mostly said it, you know. We got touched down and figure out like, okay, what, like, where are we in space? What are the sociocultural factors? Just, like, what is maternal health in Ecuador? Is the first couple, like, got the first couple building blocks. We had interviews. You guys were all there for that. And wow, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm glitching. It was an amazing experience. I think I'm definitely a little bit jealous. I think you two seem to have like really gotten into the project and like got to talk to like a lot more people and really see it come together. So that's really amazing. But I'm very grateful what I got to do as well.
Thank you, Holly. Maybe Eva, you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say the same, but I think especially for me, being a nurse in Germany, it was very interesting just to see the difference in maternal health care in Ecuador, especially in the rural areas. And yeah, understand more about the real problems and challenges women are facing there. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the experience, and it's actually very interesting to see how you've carried out the project in the last few weeks. And yeah, actually, I have a question. Can you tell me a bit more about the students visit at the hospital? Because I didn't know that you are planning to do something like that, so I would like to know a bit more about it. You know.
Do you want to? I think capture the hospital visit with the students.
Oh, okay. We did that yesterday with a group of like 15, I think, and they were, how old were they? Like 14, 12 kind of age. So in the morning we went into the school and we had Piedad with us. For everyone who doesn't know, Piedad is like a community representative from San Juan. And she talked to them a bit about her experience regarding maternal health in general in the region. We had the health centre come in and talk as well. And then in the afternoon, we took them to the same ward that we visited with the birthing room and the multicultural, the cat's here, the multicultural birthing room. They had a tour, they got shown around by the hospital staff. We surveyed them. Yeah, that was pretty much it, what we did yesterday.
It kind of developed from the idea also that we wanted to speak to younger people, not only like women that were already pregnant or already had children, but really start a bit younger, because what we understood a lot was that a way to possibly break some of the stigma would be, yeah, to really start at kind of like bottom up, just so like speaking to yeah, the youngest family members, and then maybe them bringing the information and the things they learned home, and then maybe encouraging kind of like a discourse about it at home with their families. So that's kind of also where the idea came from, I think. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting.
Thank you so much. Maybe I think we have the time for one or two questions or comments.
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm seeing the other interns who've got a call any second, another presentation sitting outside the room, so I'll make it quick. So Gabriella is coming in, coming in a few weeks' time. What would you guys say are the main things that she should bear in mind when she comes here? And what sort of direction could you see the project taking?
Well, I think probably one of my main pieces of advice throughout is to kind of approach it with a flexible mindset. We're not wanting to kind of come in here with an idea of what we're going to do and then do that to the community. We want to work with key stakeholders throughout, key members of the community who you'll meet, I imagine, in a few months, few weeks rather, sorry. I think in terms of the direction that I want it to head, I think when we finished with our, well, I say we, when Jana has finished with the documentary, because I'm doing absolutely nothing, that's going to be shared out in like hospital waiting rooms and health centres and the like, I think. So that's one of the things that's kind of coming up in the project. I think personally, I'd really like the hospital visits to continue with a focus on students and pregnant women from the community as well, and not just people like the doctors from the healthcare centre, although of course they're very valuable to have as well. They're not kind of the main beneficiary group. That would be my main direction I want it to head in. Jana, have you got anything to add?
I think the main, I don't know if I would call it advice, but like the main takeaway for me is to keep asking again and again and again. And maybe people tell you one thing once and then tomorrow they tell you something else, or they don't want to talk to you anymore. But like especially talking about like state-related institutions, keep asking and don't let them run away from you. I'm not saying this in a like, oh, the topic is too sensitive or this is too private information, we don't want to talk about it anymore, but rather like kind of having an eye on the promises that some of the institutions make on respecting culture and tradition, keeping an eye on if they really do that, because a lot of the times we hear, well, like on paper everything should be perfect, but then, and that gives kind of hope, but then the next day we talk to a mother and she tells us about an experience that was not giving hope at all. So yeah, just keep asking and keep questioning. And I think for the direction of the project, even though we've spent more than 2 months working on this, I still think we're just at the like top of the iceberg. Like I don't think we even have the whole picture yet. So even though this is like the final presentation of our internship, I think the project is definitely not done and not over. So if this is something that interests you and just other future interns, I would be super happy if they would carry on speaking about it and also carry on holding the relations to the stakeholders that we established. Just because I think that we've really like started building this network, and I think it could have a lot of potential if the next people coming here maintain it.
I think a lot of what we've been working on over the past, 12 weeks even in my case, is establishing something that is going to carry on and kind of setting up the foundations for a long-term change. And this is where Jana and I leave. But our hope is that the next set of interns coming will continue on what we've just begun to set in motion.
Thank you so much.
Christian, you're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you so much, guys, for your presentation. As I mentioned, I'm really happy because I had this experience with you, and I'm very grateful for all you done here for the communities. And also, I think for the family or friends that are here, you should be really proud about Hiba Hiba, Hali, Eilidh, and Jana, and also Cody. Thank you so much, guys, and I hope you all the best for your future projects, all the best for your studies, for your work, different projects in your countries, only the world. So thank you so much, and thank you for all people that joined today for this call. And looking forward to work with you, Gabriel, in the next weeks. And yes, thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was so good. Bye bye.
Eva, send me the
Thank
cake
you. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Me too,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Love you guys.
Bye. Have a good
Bye
time.
bye.
Love you.
Thanks. Bye bye.